Well, big news in the world of annoying influencers. A little birdie swooped into my window and told me that the CryptoZoo lawsuit was dismissed after 2 years. And there is a lot to talk about here. A lot to rant about. One video that I am going to look into in this video is one from YouTuber Scott Schaefer, who has been following closely and documenting this very, very well. And we'll look at that later, but I think he puts it into words really well. An extremely important point here. The first is that it's very clear that the judge that dismissed this trial, I don't think they really understand the implications and the context and what exactly an NFT is here. There are a lot of NFT scams out there. Like, what in the world was the Bored Ape Club, all that nonsense? I don't even know what happened to that. I have no idea. But that Jimmy Fallon clip of him with the bored ape, that it hurt physically to watch that. It does not take a rocket scientist to make the observation that most NFTs are usually a scam. And like Scott Schaefer said in his video that I will be watching, it just seems like the judge that dismissed this CryptoZoo case just doesn't understand how NFTs work. And I am going to explain it in layman's terms from my understanding. I could be wrong. You know, if I am wrong, please write me in the comments. But essentially what you're doing is you're essentially like buying. It's called a non-fungible token. And you're like buying a digital asset that just says you own something, which sounds so insane. It's very much like, for example, I've got this pen in my hand here, and imagine if I was selling NFTs and you bought an NFT and it represented your digital ownership of this pen. There's no value whatsoever. And you know, I could rant. I have a lot to say about this CryptoZoo lawsuit being dismissed and Logan Paul and all of his tomfoolery. What a despicable person. But I have a lot to say about NFTs and cryptocurrency. For me personally, I'm putting the NFT pen down. For me personally, I don't own any cryptocurrency, and it's not something I really believe in, because again, what is the value that you are providing? There's literally no value. For example, if you wanted to buy index funds, whatever you want, I don't know, European markets index fund or S&P 500 American index fund, there's value because you are getting partial ownership in a company. But an NFT, you're getting a digital certificate of saying that you own something. There's no ownership, there's no value whatsoever. And to jog your memory, the whole CryptoZoo situation in the first place, actually, wait, before I go there, let me go back a little bit further. Like I said, I have a lot to rant about here. Logan Paul actually came out with something else. It was like a cryptocurrency, and the cartoons looked like South Park. It was so stupid. I don't think it went anywhere. Hopefully people weren't stupid enough to buy into that. It was called Dink Coin, and it looked like South Park, and I just remember like there was so much more marketing about Dink Coin. The website was so stupid. It was very, very idiotic. I don't think most people understand. Well, maybe most people do understand this. Maybe Logan Paul doesn't understand this. I am 99% sure most of his viewer base and fans are children. So I don't really understand, like, what are you trying to get 8-year-olds to buy Dink Coin? I don't know what happened with that. I don't think people were scammed with Dink Coin. But later on, then he comes up with the CryptoZoo game. There was really nothing. There was never anything. They said that they were going to make a game. Game never was released. And a lot of people bought NFTs because Logan Paul was telling his entire fan base, like, hyping it up. And that's what the judge, I guess, said. I'll read more about it later in more detail. But the judge said, it wasn't a fraud. It was just a lot of hype, because that's exactly what Logan Paul did. He hyped it up and he convinced all of his fan base to buy a ton of NFTs for CryptoZoo. But it turns out that Logan Paul hired a whole team of people who clearly did not have the best intentions at heart, because those people were allowed to buy a ton of the NFT so that the price was extremely inflated. And then, strangest thing, it looked very much like a rug pull, that very typical NFT scam. So that's what it looked like. And there's just so much like flip-floppery happening here, because what's crazy is that when this all came came out, everyone had pitchforks in their hand and they said, Logan Paul, he's evil. CoffeeZilla made a huge 3-part like documentary exposing all the terrible details about how a lot of people lost a lot of money. For some reason, Logan Paul made an apology video and, you know, took accountability and said I was wrong. And then he deleted that video. And now that the case is being dismissed, he's going all about how, oh, you know, well, this is the truth and the truth always wins. And, you know, I'm trying to clear my name and fight for my innocence. And dude, listen, I mean, it's let's just put it this way. If he really is innocent, why doesn't he just refund everybody and move on with his life? But that was not the deal. The deal was for this lawsuit, he was agreeing to refund all the people who lost their money as long as they sign a contract and agree not to file a lawsuit against him, which is just insane. I mean, if that seems to spell out guilty to me. If someone is not guilty, they would just make things right. And, you know, let's just go even further back. Let's go even further back. If he really wanted to make things right, why didn't he just make the game? And why did he hire like really, really sketchy people to be behind this entire project? Yeah, so absolute nonsense. I don't want to say, a lot of this is just alleged. I don't want to say anything and put on my tinfoil hat and go conspiracy theorist, but there are just so many details here. Another thing that I could just rant on and on about is, you know, I want to say no offense here, but it's probably going to be offensive. I just don't understand how people are not only watching Logan Paul, like he released a video in the past 24 hours of me recording this. He released a video. It's just some stupid vlog. It's so bad. It's not anything enjoyable whatsoever. So I don't understand. I really think it's glue-eating 8-year-old children who are watching Logan Paul. But for someone to watch Logan Paul, be a fan of him, and then actually trust him and buy an NFT from Logan Paul, I mean, at that point, it's natural selection. So anyways, I don't understand what it requires for someone to just be dumb enough to buy an NFT, let alone from Logan Paul. But, you know, to have some empathy with this situation, it is actually a lot more common than you think. I remember years ago, actually, a close friend of mine was telling me about this game. Sound familiar? A game where you buy NFTs and then, you know, the game is going to get really popular and the NFTs represent ownership of the things in the game. Sounds really familiar, huh? And I'm not making this up. So a friend of mine was telling me about it, and I think he actually invested close to $10,000 in that game, and he lost all of it. Needless to say, though, he learned an extremely valuable lesson. So I don't want to be too judgmental here because, unfortunately, sometimes we have to learn lessons the hard way. And while I have not been burnt in an NFT scam, the worst situation I've really been in is I bought a $300 phone on Facebook Marketplace from someone who didn't exist. Yeah, don't send money through Cash App. So yeah, I got burnt there. But luckily, that's really the worst situation I've been in. So I don't know the individual stories about how much money people really put into these NFTs, but clearly it was a very large sum of money collectively from many people. I think I saw it was about 140 people who were going after Logan Paul for their money. And I am gonna skim through some notable quotes from Logan Paul himself. Logan Paul noted that it was a good first step in unwinding the scammer narrative that has been thrust against him to be validated by the federal courts, the United States judicial system. And what I've been saying for the past 3-4 years, that I didn't scam anyone, I'm innocent, and that this Logan Paul is a scammer narrative is absolute bullshit, he continued. I never made $1 from this project. I wanted to make the best game ever, it failed, but there's a huge difference between failure and fraud. Business ventures fail all the time. To imply scam, to imply deception is just so objectively false. And I'm so happy that the court now say it. It's on the record. That's why I brought it to court, because it was the only way to get the truth out there. I'm going to try and win in court, and that's what I intend to do. It's just the beginning, I promise you that. Yeah, so what a load of barnacles. Again, if he was concerned about the truth, he would just, no questions asked, just return all the money to the people who lost money and cut ties with the people who were behind the project, who clearly pulled the rug right from underneath the NFT. That seems to be what happened based on my observations. And again, if he's concerned about the truth, I don't understand why he made that apology video and was like a whimpering little dog, little puppy dog, and then he deleted the video, so it's gone. And again, you know, he says he's concerned about truth, but the next step in this is that there is going to be a pretty big defamation lawsuit against CoffeeZilla in April of 2026, and I have a feeling a lot of eyes are going to be on that. I'm probably going to get my popcorn, maybe a soda, and I'm going to be live streaming that, watching that, because let's sure hope that the truth has come out. I'm not on Logan's side. So yeah, something else to rant about too is I don't understand what is happening with the United States legal system. First P. Diddy Diddy and now this. I didn't make a video about P. Diddy, but I have no idea. It's like we're living in the Matrix. The fact that P. Diddy, I think he only got away with like a few years in prison. I just don't get it. I have no idea. And then you have someone like Logan Paul who's literally walking away from this. It just goes to show, like, I really don't think some of the United States judges understand the current climate. It's like there's this lag time where like the current judicial system and the judges in place, they're making decisions based on their training from what, 40, 50 years ago. It really is just crazy. Things just seem extremely broken. I don't understand how P. Diddy walks and now Logan Paul also walks. Not only is he walking, but now he's going after CoffeeZilla. It's just insane. I just don't get it. All right, so this is Scott Schaefer's video about the CryptoZoo lawsuit being dismissed by a judge, and I'm just gonna cover some of this video here.
So right here at the bottom it says, this case was filed on February 2nd, 2023, and the court does not doubt defendant Paul has expended substantial time and resources to a defense, but this alone does not warrant denial of leave. In fact, the most telling factor, futility, weighs heavily in favor of granting plaintiffs leave to amend. Many of plaintiff claims are rooted in some form of fraud, and as the court previously noted, plaintiffs' fraud claims, if properly pled with more specificity, could survive a motion to dismiss. The court believes this to be the case as to the majority of plaintiffs' claims. However, no matter how artfully pled or supplemented with facts, one count, the CEE violation, cannot survive. Accordingly, the court recommends plaintiffs be granted leave to amend their complaint as to the claims. So initially, this was in August, the judge was saying, basically, the judge was saying, hey, your claims that you have made, you have not justified that Logan Paul should be on here as a defendant. You need to give me, more information as to why you believe that he actually scammed people, when in reality it seems like the other people involved were the real scammers behind it. At least that's what the judge seems to think. So right here, here's an excerpt from the listing where it says, this is from the judge saying it. In other words, because purchasers buy CZ CryptoZoo NFTs unaware of their value until they hatch, and because the CZ NFT animals can be bred with others to create hybrid NFTs, an option contract is thereby formed, Judge Griffin wrote. The mental gymnastics required to come to this conclusion are truly dizzying, he added. Plaintiffs do not explain, nor can the court understand, how their purchase of CZ NFTs create option contracts or contracts for future delivery. Now, in my opinion, if you don't know how NFTs work, you get it. You're making an option contract on the blockchain. So, in my honest opinion, I think this judge he fully doesn't understand cryptocurrency. I don't know his age. I believe he's quite older, in his 50s or 60s. There's a lot of people my age, I'm 36, who do not understand cryptocurrency. So for an older gentleman, a judge who probably, I don't know if he's ever seen a case involved in cryptocurrency before, I don't think he fully understands how it works. So that's very unfortunate. The judge later goes on to say, Judge Griffin said in some cases the complaint gave only fragments of facts accompanied by vague attributions of conduct to defendants, or looked to jam together two pieces of different puzzles in the vain hope of producing a final cohesive product. The judge added, unfortunately, the case law does not support this tactic. So the judge was not being kind to Attorney Tom and their plaintiff case against the defendants and Logan Paul, as well as the other defendants. But he gave them the option to amend their filing so that they can make it more clear as to why they think Logan Paul should be on this case. Now, unfortunately, Attorney Tom was not able to do that, I guess, because on October 24th, there was a notice of filing supplement authority by Logan Paul, motion to dismiss, and it was granted. And we know this because TMZ reported on it. Logan Paul's CryptoZoo legal nightmare is officially over, because TMZ has learned a judge has reaffirmed the August dismissal of the class action lawsuit against LP, which accused him of defrauding investors in his failed NFT project. And also, Logan Paul tweeted about this as well. So he's officially off the case. He will not be facing any justice by this. Again, my opinion, I think this really comes down to the judge not really fully understanding cryptocurrency, but I could be wrong. Maybe Attorney Tom just didn't do a very good job showing that Logan Paul was involved in the scam. So one thing I want to point out is it looks like 2 other defendants also got their names dismissed from the case. It says it is further ordered that defendants Jeffrey Levin and Ophir Ventov's rule motion to dismiss is granted. Now, the judge goes over how he doesn't have jurisdiction. Looking good. I don't think it's good for CoffeeZilla's case of winning his defamation. Logan Paul sued CoffeeZilla for defamation, saying that he was a scammer, basically. If you don't know, Logan Paul didn't sue CoffeeZilla for the 3-part series. Defamation only has a 1-year timeline that you can sue in the U.S., and so that passed. Initially, Logan Paul, he apologized and he thanked CoffeeZilla for making the video, and he said he was gonna pay back the victims. And then later, CoffeeZilla continued to talk about it, and so Logan Paul specifically sued him, I believe, for several tweets that CoffeeZilla made on Twitter saying that Logan Paul was a scammer. Right now, this case, this class action being thrown out, I think only helps Logan Paul in his case against CoffeeZilla. Because CoffeeZilla before could be like, hey, look, Logan Paul is being sued by the victims. Clearly, they believe he's a scammer. If Logan Paul had lost the class action, that would have been very good for the CoffeeZilla case, because he can be like, look, Logan Paul was found guilty. He had to pay a bunch of money. He's officially a scammer. Now that case is thrown out, I really don't think it's going to help CoffeeZilla at all. I think it's going to be bad. Now, I do hope that CoffeeZilla wins. I bought his merch. This was the merch that he did this year to support his to raise funds to support his case against Logan Paul. I do hope he wins, but I honestly don't think it looks good with this case being thrown out against Logan Paul.
So yeah, pretty disappointing news. The fact that the CryptoZoo lawsuit is being dismissed, like Scott Schaefer said, it's not good news for CoffeeZilla, because unfortunately, if the situation were the people were suing Logan Paul and they believed they were scammed, that would be a really good situation for the Logan Paul CoffeeZilla defamation lawsuit. I need to jog my memory on what the tweets said, but yeah, it is just absolute lunacy that Logan Paul thanked CoffeeZilla, made an apology video, said he's going to refund all the money, and now at this point I'm just confused, because is he refunding the money to the people or not? I thought, my understanding of it was that people who agreed not to file a lawsuit against him would get the money back. Does he have to pay the money back? Wait, what in the world? That is actually so insane. Because the CryptoZoo lawsuit was dismissed, he doesn't have to pay back any of that money. What in the world? Now, it does make me wonder, like, the people involved in that courtroom, like, did they just not do a good job? I don't understand. Like, you ask anyone on the street, most people would agree that Logan Paul is up to no good. I don't understand how they weren't. It seems like the bad people involved behind the project, those were the fall guys, and, like, it seems like that's my understanding of the situation, is that, oh, Logan Paul wasn't behind this. It said in the legal document that it was, Logan Paul said it was his passion project. Yeah, okay. So it seems like all the fall is on the fall guys right now, and I don't know if those people are going to get the justice that they deserve. I think some things to remember here that are extremely important in this situation is that Logan Paul is the same guy who went to the famous suicide forest in Japan. He was definitely looking for a dead body. He disrespectfully filmed that dead body, uploaded that video to YouTube, and then plugged his merch in the video. Clearly the guy hasn't changed. Clearly he is an extremely greedy person. And you know what, maybe I'll make another video and just jogging my memory and sort of watching the entire 3-part CryptoZoo scam expose video from CoffeeZilla. But oh my gosh, this rabbit hole is so deep. I could just dive into this for days. There is so much behind the name Logan Paul, and it seems like he's on this mission to like clear his name that he's not a scammer, but he's been involved in so many things that just don't look good for him. So anyways, I really hope I heard in the Scott Schaefer video that CoffeeZilla was selling merch, raising money to fund this defamation lawsuit in April. I really wish him the best of luck. Unfortunately, what the situation seems like is Logan Paul is probably just gonna go after him as much as possible to just like deplete funds as much as possible. So CoffeeZilla will just, yeah, I take it all back. You're not a scammer, and then it's just sad. I have no idea how much money Logan Paul has. I don't know if the WWE pays well. This is just really, really sketchy. For someone who is claiming to be innocent, it's like, this is just such a mess. Anyways, I'm still just processing and flabbergasted that this CryptoZoo lawsuit was dismissed. And I will be making updates, and I will stay posted for April for that defamation lawsuit.